I'm going to marry the woman I cheated on you with, and I want a divorce.
My husband told me this without hesitation, and he even said this to me.
I'm going to ask you to take care of my parents while I start my new married life.
What? Please, take care of us, Carol. My in-laws, who don't blame their own son for having an affair, wants to rely on me. I can't be with these insane people. So then I told them something. Then my in-laws turned pale and got down on their knees to me with all their might.
I am so sorry.
My name is Carol. I'm a 40-year-old part-time housewife. My husband and I have been married for about 16 years. We met through work. We are colleagues in the same company. We worked together on the same projects, went out for drinks, got to know each other better, and ended up dating. My husband was 2 years older than me, and at the time he seemed to be very mature. But he was funny and cool, and I fell in love with him instantly. We went out on several dates and ended up going out. After about a year of dating, he proposed to me and we decided to get married. I was so happy that I was going to marry the man I loved. I was only 24 years old at the time, but I think I really loved him because I still decided to marry him. After that, my husband and I worked together and had a happy married life. 3 years into our marriage, our son Thomas was born. He was so cute. I thought he was an angel when he was just born. We were happy, and we were building a good family. After the birth of my son, I decided to quit my job and focus on raising my son. I think it was a good thing that I quit my job because I was able to spend a lot of time with my son. And I had a good relationship with my in-laws. When I went to visit my in-laws, they would smile kindly at me and talk to me, and I felt comfortable with them. I thought we had a really happy marriage. They loved their grandson Thomas very much, and often came to our house or we invited them to our parents-in-law's house. Then, my husband made this suggestion.
Why don't we just move in with my parents? Then they could see Thomas every day and we could live in a big house without paying rent.
My husband's suggestion sounded good to me. That's because my in-laws and I had a good relationship at that time. My son is going to get bigger and it would be better for him to live in a bigger house where he can have more space. So, I agreed to live with them. I would come to regret that my decision was a mistake. At first, I thought cohabitation was going very well. My parents-in-law seemed very happy to be able to live with their grandson, and my husband seemed relaxed to be back at home. I did my best to be a housewife and did my best to take care of the housework, and my parents-in-law and my husband never complained about it. My son grew up to be a good boy, and we all watched him grow up. However, there was one thing that bothered me. My parents-in-law spoiled my son too much. They bought him everything he wanted and gave him allowance without permission. I thought it was not good for his education, so one day I said to my parents-in-law, "Could you please stop buying Thomas so many things?" When I said this, my in-laws' eyes widened and they became angry. "Are you trying to deprive us of the joy of spending time with our grandchild? Do you think you are the only one raising him?" My in-laws yelled at me like that, but as a mother myself, I wanted to educate my son properly. That's why I didn't back down. That's not what I'm saying. Of course, feel free to play with Thomas, but please, don't buy him things.
If Thomas wanted something, you'd buy it for him, wouldn't you?
Yeah. How will you take the responsibility if we don't buy it and make him sad and he doesn't like us? It seems my parents-in-law are buying things for him to make him like them. But how will they take responsibility if my son becomes selfish because of it? I will explain to Thomas that his grandparents are very kind and loving to him, so please, don't buy him anything like that. My in-laws didn't seem to be convinced by what I was saying. And when my husband came home from work, they started talking to him as if it was my fault.
Carol doesn't want me to play with our grandson. She wants him all to herself.
How dare she do this to us? I was surprised to hear my in-laws say something completely different. And my husband took them at their word.
What's the meaning of this? Are you being mean to my mom and dad?
Wait a minute, I didn't do anything like that. I gave my husband a good explanation. I told him I wanted them to stop buying too much stuff for the sake of our son's education. But he believed what his parents said, not what I said.
Cut the crap. Don't lie to me like that.
I'm not lying.
So, you're saying my parents are lying?
My husband's eyes widened and he got even angrier. In the end, no matter how much I tried to explain, he believed his parents.
I didn't think you were such a horrible woman.
From then on, my husband and in-laws became cold towards me. You cook terrible food.
You serve pasta too often. Don't treat us like we're old people, you idiot. Don't cause trouble for my parents. You really are a useless wife.
My in-laws and husband treat me like this on a daily basis. How can they keep abusing me like that? I think it's mentally exhausting to keep picking on people. I even considered divorce, but my son was only about 5 years old at the time, and I had been a housewife since he was born and hadn't worked for a long time, so I wasn't sure if I could find a new job. And I wasn't sure if I could take him with me when I left. Under the current circumstances, my in-laws can take care of him, and my husband has a steady paycheck, so they might decide that it would be better for him to take our son instead of me. I didn't want to give up my son just because things weren't going well with my in-laws. So, instead of getting a divorce, I just had to live with it. When I didn't resist, my in-laws and husband began to say worse and worse things to me. They were so abusive to me that I began to wonder if they were really the same people I used to know. I lived a hard life, day by day. No matter how badly my husband and in-laws treated me, I thought it would be better if I could be there to watch my son grow up. My son grew up so fast and entered elementary school. I was worried that he might become selfish because my in-laws had given him too many things, but he is a good listener at home, and it seems to be the same at school. I was extremely happy when his homeroom teacher told me during a parent-teacher conference that he was a very kind and considerate child. And my son was studying hard and doing well in school, but for some reason my in-laws made it sound like it was their achievement.
I knew it was because of what we taught him.
Yes, praise and extend. Buy them what they want. That's what's important. It doesn't make sense that buying children what they want will improve their grades. But my in-laws seem to want to involve themselves in everything. I just idly listened to them as they gave themselves credit for my son's own hard work. I never tried to hook him with things like my in-laws did, but he still adored me. He would always talk to me and tell me about things that happened at school. I guess my in-laws didn't like that. When my son reached the middle years of elementary school, the amount of things they bought for him jumped up. Up until then, it had been sweets and toys. But at that time, they were buying him the latest video game consoles and software. No matter how much I tried to stop them, they wouldn't listen. So I had to teach my son not to play too much and to be punctual and keep his promises. But even then, my in-laws got involved in a messy way.
Don't you feel sorry for him to make him stop when he still wants to play?
We wanted Thomas to enjoy it. That's why we bought it for him. I was completely disgusted. All I wanted was for my son to grow up to be a good man. That's what I spent my days thinking. Time passed by and my son turned 13 years old. Now that he is in junior high school, he will enter puberty, and as a parent, you may have to deal with a lot of difficulties. Just when I was thinking about that, an unexpected problem happened. It was on a holiday. My husband suddenly called me into his bedroom and said he wanted to talk to me. Why on earth did you bring me in here? I knew that he had no intention to do anything romantic because he and I had completely cooled off, and I myself didn't want to do anything like that with him anymore. As I was thinking about this, he suddenly made a surprising statement.
I'm going to marry the woman I'm having an affair with, so please, divorce me.
What? Divorce? I was startled by these unexpected words from my husband.
Well, it's no wonder you're surprised. I've been trying to keep you in the dark, but I figured it was time to tell you.
My husband told me so openly. Why would he want to tell the world that he was having an affair? Well, I don't know what a stupid person thinks. And finally, he even said something like this.
I'm going to ask you to take care of my parents when I start my new married life.
Huh? Wait a minute. We're getting a divorce, right? Then I'll have to leave with Thomas, won't I? When I said that, my husband said something outrageous.
I'm the one who's leaving.
What? What do you mean?
I'm going to leave and start a new life with my new wife. And I'm worried about my parents. So, I'm leaving you in charge of the house. You'll have a house to live in with Thomas, so it's a win-win, right?
I couldn't close my gaping mouth. It's not win-win at all. I was speechless at how crazy he sounded.
I'm going to talk to my mom and dad right now.
My husband said that and suddenly started to leave the room. I rushed after him. He gave the same explanation to my in-laws as he did to me. I thought they would be angry with him for this, but they were also crazy people. I see. I'm going to miss you, but I guess that can't be helped.
I agree. It's better for the newlyweds to spend their honeymoon alone. I'm sure Carol will take care of the final details.
Please, take care of us. My in-laws tried to depend on me instead of blaming their own son for the affair. If you try to leave, I'll make sure you leave Thomas behind. You'll be the only one who's leaving. I can't be with these insane people. So, I told them something. I'm telling you, since it's my husband's fault, I'm entitled to alimony. And there's a good chance I'll get custody of my son too.
What do you mean?
My husband committed adultery. Normally, the custody goes to the non-adulterer. In addition, the mother usually gets custody.
Wait a minute. Then you'll take Thomas and leave?
Yes, of course I would.
I won't let you do that. I know. Let's ask Thomas what he thinks.
That's what my in-laws and husband said and went to get our son. I wonder if they are going to tell him everything. My son enters the room and says, "What's wrong?"
Mom and Dad are getting a divorce.
What?
So, Thomas, how would you like to stay here and live with your grandparents?
That's not a fair way to explain or ask a question. I was quick to make the point. You better explain to him that we're divorcing because you cheated on me. When I said this, my husband and in-laws were in a panic.
Thomas is just a junior high school student, you idiot.
Yes, that's right. You're going to make him go into shock. My in-laws and husband were blaming me, but before I could say anything back, my son opened his mouth. Dad, you're the one who caused the shock. Why are y'all blaming Mom? I mean, I could hear you guys arguing earlier. So, you were asking who I would go with if you get a divorce, right? I'd go with Mom, of course.
Thomas, why? Don't you want to live with Grandma and Grandpa?
You guys are nice to me, but you're horrible to my mom. To be honest, I can't forgive you for that. I despise you guys for not blaming Dad and not protecting Mom.
Despise?
My in-laws looked shocked. Anyway, I have one answer for you. I'm leaving here with my mom. I'm going to protect her from now on. Thomas. I was so happy that my son was on my side. Then, my in-laws turned pale and got down on their knees as hard as they could towards me.
I am so sorry.
I apologize. So please, don't leave this house. I don't want to leave my grandson. My in-laws pleaded with me like that. My husband also begged.
Please, if you guys don't stay here, my plan.
My son and I were not going to give in at any cost. Thomas and I will no longer have anything to do with you. We will leave this house, and we will leave this family for good. I said this and started to pack my bags. My son joined me in packing his bag with only what he needed for the time being.
Where are you going?
My parents' house.
If you go to your parents' house, Thomas will have to change schools. Wouldn't you feel sorry for him?
My husband said something like that and tried to keep us here until the end. But then my son said to him, I'd rather change schools than stay in this house forever. Dad, you should first be sorry for what you've done to this family, having an affair. Do you have any idea the damage you've done? My son was trying hard not to laugh at the ridiculousness of it all. My husband was speechless and pale. My in-laws were so exhausted that they just slumped down on the floor. My son and I left the house and drove to my parents' house. After that, I hired a lawyer and demanded divorce, alimony, and child support from my husband. Of course, I also demanded alimony from the adulterer. He thought that if I moved in with his parents, he wouldn't have to pay child support. But everything didn't go according to plan, and as a result, he had to pay alimony and child support. In addition, the adulterous partner eventually dumped my husband. My husband is now currently staying with his parents and putting most of his income towards alimony and child support. By the way, I told my parents-in-law's neighbors about the affair, and I also sent a content-certified letter to my ex-husband's workplace, so people around my ex-husband know about the affair, and my ex-husband and his parents are isolated from everyone. My ex-husband's parents told him, "Because of you, I can't see Thomas anymore." And in reply, my husband said,
You guys have been living a good life with my money.
And they would argue back and forth. My ex-husband sent me a message saying that he wanted to get back together with me, but I blocked him after reading his messages. I also blocked all incoming calls so that he could not contact me. Then I moved back to home with my son and started working as an office worker for a company that my father knew. Now, I am raising my son as a single mother with the support of my parents. My son is still the same kind-hearted boy that he was after all that happened, and he seems to be adjusting well to his new school. I will continue to work as hard as I can and watch over my son's growth.
Finally, I can get divorced.
Yes, now we can walk together openly.
I can't wait to see my grandchild's face. They appear to be triumphantly proud of themselves. Just divorced me already, Reese. To my husband, who was acting all high and mighty, I revealed a certain fact. Actually, I have something I want you to see. As I said that and showed them something, their faces turned pale in an instant. My name is Reese, a 34-year-old office worker. I recently got married to a man named Hector. We met through our companies, which were business partners. And as a representative of our respective companies, we got to know each other. Being the same age, we naturally became closer. Once this work settles down, how about going out for a meal together? He invited me like that. And it became the starting point for our friendship. After that, we often went out for drinks or meals together. We started meeting up on our days off as well. And he confessed his feelings to me, and our relationship started. He was a reliable man who took the lead, and I had come to rely on him. And as our relationship progressed smoothly, he proposed to me. I want you to be my side forever. Please marry me. Yes, gladly. I was truly happy when my beloved partner proposed to me. When I shared the news of our marriage with my parents, they were overjoyed. I thought you would never get married. Congrats, honey. This is truly wonderful. They had been eagerly awaiting my marriage. At that moment, I keenly realized how much freedom I had enjoyed until now. So, for the sake of my parents, I made up my mind to have a happy married life and put their worries to rest.
What? Reese, are you finally getting married too?
Yes, I can finally fulfill my duty as a child.
Congrats! I'm glad you found a good person.
Thank you. I'm happy.
My best friend Mandy is celebrating my marriage as if it were her own.
Mandy got married 4 years ago, and like my parents, had been eagerly awaiting my marriage. So I was really glad that I could share the news with her.
Come to the wedding, okay?
Yes, of course.
I'd like to meet your fiancé beforehand, you know. I need to see with my own eyes if he's the one who can truly make you happy.
Thanks. Then let's go out for drinks together next time. Smiling at my excited best friend, I went out for drinks with her and my partner on another day. Mandy quickly accepted Hector, and it didn't take long for them to become comfortable with each other.
Hector, please take care of Reese.
Yeah, count on me. I will definitely make her happy. While watching my best friends exchange words, I couldn't help but feel a little embarrassed. A few months later, Hector and I had our wedding ceremony. Currently, we are happily enjoying our newlywed life. Even though both of us work, my husband can't cook, so I take care of the cooking. In return, he takes care of cleaning and laundry. We manage to maintain a happy newlywed life by balancing our responsibilities. On our days off, we went on drives together or enjoyed watching movies at home, creating enjoyable memories. Both my husband and I were busy with work, so it was great to have such fun activities on our days off. Whenever I cook, my husband always appreciates and enjoys the meal, expressing his gratitude. I truly think he's an amazing husband. For a while, we were living our happy newlywed life like that, and we started spending time with Mandy and her husband Ethan as well, as a group of 4. We went camping and had barbecues, creating many cherished memories. Since we were all the same age, it felt like we were back in school. A year had passed since our marriage, and I was surprised by how enjoyable married life could be. I had been so focused on work that I honestly thought marriage was optional. But living daily life with my husband brought me unparalleled happiness. However, it seemed that nothing is perfect. Around 3 years into our marriage, a small problem arose. It was the presence of my mother-in-law. Initially, my mother-in-law treated me normally, but recently, she has become quite cold towards me. Reese, when are you going to quit your job?
Huh?
I don't have any plans to quit my job. What? Don't play dumb with me. If you keep focusing on work, you won't be able to have children, you know? You're already behind schedule as it is. Wait, behind schedule? Yes. You are already in your mid-30s. Having a child at this point is going to be difficult. Anyway, hurry up and get me grandchildren. My mother-in-law suddenly started yelling at me like that. It happened when we were alone in the kitchen, cooking together. I was taken aback and couldn't say anything in response at a moment. And I was quite shocked. Is it true that I'm behind compared to others? Are people around me also seeing me that way? Is it abnormal not to have children at my age? I found myself lost in such thoughts. Now I can understand that my mother-in-law was just unreasonably angry at the time. But back then, I was shaken by her sudden blame. I ended up blaming myself. Am I just not good enough as a woman?
Reese, what's wrong? You seem upset.
Well, I actually talked to Hector's mother and
I told Mandy about my mother-in-law.
Oh, that sounds awful. How about you and your husband's mother? What's your relationship like?
Well, it's pretty normal, I guess. To begin with, Ethan doesn't really visit his parents' place often, so I don't have to interact with them much. And they don't nag me about anything like that.
I envy you.
Reese, maybe you don't have to worry too much about it. Just brush it off and let it go. Besides, Hector has a high income, and you're working too. I envy you and your financial stability. My husband is not really making much progress in his career, you know.
Well, Ethan is working at a major company, right?
That's true, but his income is definitely lower than Hector's.
Oh, is that so?
Mandy and I have different worries and different perspectives. But just having someone I can talk to like this makes a big difference and eases my mind. I'm really grateful to have Mandy. However, after that, my mother-in-law's harassment escalated significantly.
Reese, why are you so useless? I guess working people are just bad at housework. Your cooking is terrible too. Poor Hector, marrying someone like you. How did you manage to win over Hector?
My mother-in-law relentlessly showered me with these harsh words. Frustrated, I finally stood up to her. Why do I have to hear such things from you? Hector and I have decided to wait for children to come naturally. We're both content with that. So why is it a problem? Upon hearing my response, my mother-in-law widened her eyes in anger.
What? You, as a daughter-in-law, dare to defy your mother-in-law? Unbelievable. You're truly the worst kind of wife.
That's how my mother-in-law and I ended up having a heated argument. That night, as a result, I was scolded by my husband.
I heard from Mom that you said something terrible.
Your mother kept blaming me relentlessly. She said really hurtful things about not having children.
Yeah, she said the same to me. She told me to urge you to have children soon. Reese, you need to try a lot harder.
Excuse me?
After all, the issue lies with you, right? Wait a minute. Why are you saying such things?
I was surprised by my husband's harsh attitude.
Well, it's true. It's not my fault. So it must be yours.
What? Just hold on a second. Why are you so convinced of that? What kind of reasoning is that?
Well, anyway, please don't do anything that would upset Mom.
I was taken aback by how my husband was blaming me. Until now, he had always been kind-hearted and never said such things, so I couldn't believe it. Since then, our relationship became quite strained. Moreover, recently, both my husband and I have been busy with work and haven't been able to have meals together often. With this fight happening amidst all that, it became difficult to repair our relationship. Lately, my husband seems to be avoiding me. He stays late at work and comes home late every day. Under such circumstances, it's impossible to even think about trying for a baby. My mother-in-law frequently contacts us through calls and messages, asking if we've had any success with conceiving. I was mentally exhausted from all of this, and I tried to reach out to my best friend for advice. However, it seemed like Mandy was busy with something and couldn't meet me.
I'm sorry, but I've been really busy lately.
Oh, I see. Well, that can't be helped then. I continued to accumulate more and more stress, and it became unbearable. In the midst of all that, I witnessed something unbelievable. What the? On that day, after finishing work, I had some shopping to do and was walking in the town. That's when I saw my husband. I found it strange because I thought he was at work, so I looked towards him with curiosity. And to my surprise, Mandy was walking next to him. I instinctively hid behind something and watched them with my eyes. Why were they together? That's what I wondered as I followed them. They went into a restaurant with an open terrace. There, I witnessed an even more shocking scene. To my astonishment, my mother-in-law was there. She spotted my husband and Mandy, waved her hand, and invited them to her table. I couldn't believe my eyes. Why was Mandy getting close to my mother-in-law? I was bewildered and didn't understand what was going on. But I realized that my husband and my best friend were keeping something from me. I felt that there must be something suspicious. So I decided to hire a private investigator to conduct an investigation. My husband continued to come home late every day and didn't communicate with me. And there was something else that bothered me. My mother-in-law stopped contacting me entirely. If I didn't know anything, I would have simply felt relieved. But witnessing the three of them together made me even more suspicious of the relationship between my husband and my best friend. And a few weeks later, the investigation results came out. As expected, my husband was having an affair with Mandy. Even more surprising facts were relieved. Mandy was pregnant. It was inconceivable. In other words, my husband had impregnated my best friend. I couldn't forgive them. My best friend and my husband betrayed not only me, but also her husband Ethan. And my mother-in-law probably sided with my best friend because she got pregnant, not me. They must have been planning to be together behind my back. If that's the case, I will make a move from my side. I called my husband into the living room, saying that we need to talk as soon as he came home. What is it? I'm tired. You're having an affair with Mandy, aren't you? Huh? Here. These are the evidence photos of your affair. I showed my husband the evidence photos. He seemed momentarily surprised, but quickly smirked. Well, if I've been caught, there's nothing I can do, huh? He said that and brought out divorce-related documents. Let's end this. Although my husband said it nonchalantly, it wasn't that easy to just separate like that. If we were going to break up anyway, I wanted to get revenge on them. Yes, let's get a divorce. But one condition.
We involve lawyers and have a proper discussion with everyone present. My husband seemed reluctant, but he agreed. And on another day, with the involvement of lawyers, the 5 of us, myself, my husband, my mother-in-law, Mandy, and her husband Ethan, gathered for discussion.
You should just agree to the divorce already.
Yes, since Mandy is pregnant with Hector's child, there's no choice but to separate.
Mandy and my mother-in-law were chatting happily like that.
I learned something a while ago. Mandy's husband Ethan is infertile. That's why they were convinced that the child in their womb was my husband's. And they probably think that even if they have to pay some amount of compensation, it's just a minor setback. Finally, I can get divorced.
Yeah. Now we can walk proudly together, Hector.
I can't wait to see my grandchild's face. My husband, Mandy, and my mother-in-law were acting triumphant like that. So, Reese, just hurry up and get divorced. Seeing my husband acting all smug, I decided to enlighten him with a certain fact. Actually, there's something I want you to see. And when I show it to them, they turned pale. Oh, what is this? What does it mean? It was my mother-in-law who screamed. Mandy? Who is this man? Moreover, the man in this other photo is a different person. What's going on? What does all this mean? What I showed them were numerous pieces of evidence of Mandy's affairs. It turned out that my best friend wasn't just having an affair with my husband. She was involved with multiple men. With all this evidence, it's hard to say for sure if the child in your belly is Hector's, right? You! By the way, didn't I tell you how I was being pressured to have a child? Did I? Could it be that you're trying to make Hector believe that you're carrying his child when it's actually someone else's? Huh? That's crazy. I would never do something like that. Oh, really? But I remember how you were envious of the fact that Hector has a high income. If you could snatch him away from me, you could get a husband with a good salary. And on top of that, having a child would make you more favorable in Hector's mother's eyes, right? That's... Mandy was visibly shaking. Hold on, Mandy. Are you saying you've been deceiving us? Mandy, what's the truth? My mother-in-law and husband were wide-eyed as they interrogated Mandy. Ethan and I watched the exchange with a cold gaze. Well, let's talk about the compensation for damages first. Ethan and I expect each of you to pay a substantial amount of compensation. When I said that, Mandy hastily approached my husband.
Hector, you promised that you would take care of the compensation, right? That was our agreement, right?
But my husband replied, that discussion is off the table. Besides, the fact that you had an affair with another man means I won't marry you. He refused to pay for her part of the compensation. And thus, a fight erupted between my husband and my best friend, right before my eyes. Well then, since our discussion is over, we'll be leaving. I said that and left the scene with my lawyer and Ethan. As a result, my best friend Mandy ended up burdened with a large debt and lost everything. She gave birth to the child, but her parents took custody and cut ties with her. In a follow-up story, it turned out that Hector wasn't the biological father of Mandy's child. Regarding my ex-husband, I had sent a certified letter to his workplace, exposing his affair. As a result,
His affair became known in his workplace, and he was demoted. Since they had a high number of female employees, his affair was considered detrimental. Now, my ex-husband can no longer expect any career advancements. As for my ex-mother-in-law, it seems that she faced a divorce from my father-in-law, who finally reached his limit after she not only failed to reprimand her son for his infidelity, but also encouraged him to leave me. She was kicked out of her house and apparently moved into my ex-husband's house. However, this incident has caused tension between the two of them, and they fight every day, to the point where the neighbors have been complaining. As a result, my ex-husband and mother-in-law were asked to leave by the landlord, and I don't even know where they are currently living. Well, their fate is no longer of any concern to me. As for me, I'm still dedicated to my work. I finally achieved my long-awaited promotion, and even got a transfer to the company's headquarters in New York. Living here, I truly feel that this is a place where dreams come true. My life is far from over. For now, I'll make my primary goals to succeed in my career, focusing less on marriage or romance for a while.